Welcome back to Switch to Linux. So today we're going to continue on the extension of the video we did yesterday, which is de-googlifying a Nexus 5X. And I have the phone essentially built here with the apps that I wanted to install. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. Now, first, I was thinking about wanting to run the Kali NetHunter system on it. But the reality is I kind of wanted that just so I could do some terminal manipulations in the phone. Mostly push a host file that's going to block ad trackers, network trackers, things like that. And also, if you happen to have a family member that you want to prevent from certain sites, you could do that same type of stuff on this device and basically lock them out of the ability to get on bad websites too. And that's actually an advantage of doing this phone. So I'm sure there's other phones out there that have a lot of the features that this phone has, but I gotta say that this is probably one of the best purchases I've made in phones probably ever as far as that. Now hopefully it ends up working out well. I've not activated it yet with the carrier. If I get the opportunity, I will possibly attempt to do that tomorrow. But what I want to talk about today is, first, the only real reason I'd want to root the phone or to run, Kali or any of that is to have some root shell access. But the reality is this phone has the ability to do a root access through the Android debug bridge. And so I'm able to push all the host files without ever rooting this phone. So that takes care of the only real reason I would want to root the phone. The second thing is how do you manage your various apps? Well, it just turns out that the vastest majority of my apps that I use, are all open source, and they have been for a while. I've moved away from using closed source apps a while back, and so most of those apps were available just by going to the homepage for the site, and most of those apps made the download available. I did utilize Fdroid for a few apps, although I did not install Fdroid's store or whatever, because I never have a real burning desire to sit there and play with installing new apps. I want to look for some basic functionality. I want to get that functionality up and ready to go, and then I generally don't install things beyond that. And if the only times I ever really do is essentially just kind of the times that I'm sitting at home anyway, and so I can do that research all on my own. And so what we're going to do today, though, is I'm going to show you how I have the phone set up. Now, I'll give you just some brief overviews first, and then I'll show you how I did things. First and foremost, all of the web browsers, except for the default built-in that I never really plan to use, run through Tor. And so I installed Firefox, I installed Chromium. Let's go ahead, I gotta get that link actually. Let me copy address. We're gonna go down into Chromium. Of course, I like having multiple different browsers on the device. So here is Chromium. But then if I actually go and I use the default built-in browser, which I really don't like at all, but if I do use the default browser, then what you will notice is, let me cover my real IP in case it matters, I am not connected to Tor on that. My email applications do not connect to Tor. Anything that's like an Android-y type service, even if that's not reporting home anywhere, all of those are set into Tor. So I basically have the system set up so when it boots up, it automatically connects to the Tor network and it routes all my web browser traffic through there. Also, of course, I pushed a host file. So sorry, Facebook, you cannot access my phone, which means that Facebook trackers will not be accessing anything I do on this phone on any site through any app. So that is pretty much out. The things that I'm still working with is I'm still working to figure out how to use the map application. So if anybody knows of a good map application, I'm looking at Pocket Maps right now, but I really don't like it. I'm also looking at OESM, and I think it's called, as another map. That one seems to be a little bit better. I can turn on the location. That's what I do on my iPhone, is I turn on location if I happen to need the map. That's the only thing out there that I have on the phone that can do it. Everything else I had, Fbreader, so I have my Fbreader, and that works perfectly fine. So let me go back to my main library. So There you go. There's my Fbreader. So what I can then do is using, and one of the reasons I set the default, they're like the built-in stock browser to not use Tor, is so that I can actually access my local server if I need to from in the office. As of right now, even if I'm using this phone in the office, the internet's coming from there, but I don't know if it will or not. It's possible that since it's on a local DNS, it's possible that it might. Let me go ahead and give that a try. I'll give it a try real quick. Yep. So if I go to my local address for my Calibri server, it does not work because everything is being routed through the Tor network. So I have a default browser which will enable me to interface with my local network should I ever really need to do that. Of course, other things like VLC, of course, does not interact through Tor, and that way I can come into my VLC player that I have here, and I can hit my local network, and so it'll find all the list of computers that I have, including my media server. So I have my media server down there, so I can come down here. Now, this is one of the things that really is annoying about VLC. On the iPhone, VLC allows you to download music to the phone. On the Android app, it doesn't. And so the good thing about VLC on the iPhone is I can download music from my local server onto the phone, but on the Android, if it's possible, let me know how, because I have hunted everywhere. I cannot find an option to do that. Of course, I can probably go directly to it in the browser and download the stuff, but that's kind of a pain for a functionality that was in there. Now, here's another reason I did not run NetHunter, is NetHunter broke some of the core apps, such as the gallery. The gallery crashes. Now, I don't know if it's NetHunter or if it's rooting the phone, because a lot of people will say that the gallery crashes on Lineage. So this is, here we're running this. Gallery works just fine. These were all snapped just this afternoon. This is actually, I'm kind of taking you on a tour of where I go and I write every day. So I kind of walk through this little space here. It's like a 5-minute walk. And then there's actually my writing office. So I do this once a day. I go down there and I write. And then here's just kind of walking back. There's just some nice close-up pictures. There is another portrait-y type one there. So you can see how the camera works just fine. The gallery works just fine. A lot of people say that the gallery crashes on this phone and or on Lineage. But a lot of your Lineage instructions tells you to root the phone when you're done. This phone is not rooted. So the gallery seems to work. Also, the camera breaks on when you're running Kali. NetHunter, it messes up the camera as well. So messes up the camera, messes up the gallery, and that's one of those things I need my phone to do. I need my phone to be able to snap photos, to get on the internet, to check my email without having any fuss about it. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I forgot to move one of my applications here onto the screen. Of course, now I'm all misbalanced. So let me go ahead. No. Okay, so there we go. I want to go ahead and put that on the home screen. So as far as what I have installed, we're just going to go ahead and switch over to the phone screen there so you can actually see what I have going on over there. Then I'll show you how I set all this stuff up. Let me go ahead and bing, transition. Okay. And move that over. Okay, so it looks like it's... I wonder if I can put something over there to shadow that up a little bit. Nah, that's not going to do it. I was kind of looking for a way that I can get the phone a little bit better so that you can see it a little bit better. Maybe it's actually, maybe if I was try a different wallpaper background. So go into the gallery, change my wallpaper. Actually, let me just do it from the phone settings because I know which background I want to use. Okay, let's try this. Just looking for something that gives me a little bit something, whatever I can to get the better frame. So what I have up here was a teacher, so let me grab my dowel rod here. Up here, of course, this is my Tor notification. It tells me that Tor's online. And then this is actually the VPN access to use Tor. And so with that, that'll kind of, the key there tells me that we're all good. And then what I have set up here is inside the apps. So I have my Bible app that I installed. This is an open source Bible app that will allow me to download anything from the Xylos and other places. And possibly I need to hunt around for some better Bibles that probably are not as easily available, but I'll give that a try. Audio effects, that's one of the built-in apps. There's, of course, the browser that I don't generally use, but if I do need a non-Tor browser, that's the good one. See, that's perfect, but that's right before the phone's about to die. Let me do this, actually. And it's too dark. Hey, that's pretty good. That's not bad. Okay, so there's our default browser. We have our calculator, calendar. One of the things on the calendar is I did not seem to find a local calendar option. And that's kind of a pain because I want to be able to have a local calendar without logging it into something. However, that's not too bad. I think down the road I'm going to be experimenting with some things with that. All right. Of course, we have the camera, I have Chromium, and the clock. The clock, there does seem to also be a bug in there. There is, in theory, a weather system plugged into that, but it's, I've even turned on an allowed location just to give it a test. It cannot find the weather system. So, and for whatever reason, I can't set any weathery stuff. Of course, there's contacts. I'm not going to click that because all my contacts have been imported already. The stock email app, that's the one that I would use with any IMAP emails that I have. Every now and again, I'll use some IMAPs, although it's not my general preference. Fbreader is what I use for ebooks. It's a very fabulous open source ebook platform, so this is what allowed me to kick Kindle. It'll even play more formats than Kindle will. My basic files, there's my Firefox. Now, Firefox is kind of a pain in that they don't have a direct APK download. So I downloaded the Firefox updater from F-Droid, and then that allowed me to download Firefox. The Forecast is the weather app that I used. I also downloaded this from F-Droid. This just gave me the ability to just enter a city, so I didn't have to turn on any locations. Since I told it no locations, it has not bothered me at all, and the weather is just fine. And then it also gave me a weather widget, which is on my home screen, which is right there. It's up my weather widget. So I have my weather and I have my clock at the top. Built-in gallery plugins, just fine. Canine Mail is actually my preferred email client because it handles POP3 amazingly, and I can have unified inboxes and color code things. So that's actually... This is what I ran. I fell in love with this on my very first Droid ever, and I'm looking forward to actually using email with Droid again with that. The default messaging app, default music app. So if you click on that, you'll see the music that I have here. I wanted to install a note application. So this note application, it's not quite as simple as the one on Apple. That's what I was looking to replace. Just something I can quickly sign in and write notes down. This one still has more weird functions and features. So if anybody knows if you're familiar with iOS and Android, if you know of a free and open source notepad program that's very much like the Apple's, let me know. I'd be interested. Okay, so this guy here is called Orbot. This is what allows me to have the Tor access on everything. And then I can pick the various apps that it allows that direct connection to. And so I have that option there. So this is the OneMap application that I have that I'm experimenting with. This is the one I tend to like the most. And then this one here is the Pocket Maps, which actually drives me mad. So I'm thinking about dumping that one. Of course, the default phone app, default recorder, and There's the settings, and there's VLC. So that's all I have installed on this. The only other apps that I would kind of like to install are the YouVersion and or Bible Gateway apps, but I haven't found a very good, concise copy of those anywhere. Like, I've found some download links for them, but I don't want to just randomly download everything that there is online. I want to go for more trusted sources for those. So if you know of a trusted source to get one of those, let me know. I'd be interested. It looks like there's still a few more apps I will probably want to install eventually, like OpenVPN for connecting to my VPN, and I think that might just about cover what I need. That's really all I use my phone for. So, if you follow Brian Lunduke, this is essentially the type of phone he'd probably want. It connects everything with Tor. I've all the tracking and ad blocking kicked out. I'm using free and open source apps, and I could do it all without having to root the phone. So I'm overall pretty happy with this. I'm anxious to get it on the network and give it some test calls to make sure it works. I'm not going to install it as my main phone yet, so the iPhone's not getting totally kicked. I'm just moving this over into my secondary phone section. It will replace my dumb phone here. So we'll get a chance to see how that works. So let's talk about how I did some of this stuff. First is, of course, how do you adjust the hosts file without actually going in and rooting the phone. So what we need to do for that is you need to turn the phone into developer mode. Now, I actually keep developer mode turned off when I'm not doing this type of stuff, which gives me an extra layer of security. So we're going to go into my settings, which I have conveniently over here. Okay, go into developer mode by clicking on the build number multiple times. We're going to go back into the developer mode, and then I need to turn on two settings. The first is I need to turn on USB debugging, and the second is I need to turn on root by Adb. Okay, so there's the first one. It's called root access. I want to click on that, and you'll see that there it says disabled and Adb only. Now, if you rooted your phone, then you will have the option to have apps on there as well. So I'm going to change that to Adb only. So now with the Android debug bridge, connecting this into a terminal on a computer, I will now be able to access this. But I can't do that until I turn on Android debugging. So we're going to come down, turn that on. It's, of course, going to give me my same warnings. So now with this guy on, what I need to do is go into my terminal. And first, we're just going to kind of wake the thing up by going Android Debug Bridge, ADB, and Devices. Okay, so this is giving me the pop-up. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. So now we're going to run that command again. You'll see that we have the device set up. So what we need to do first is you need to allow Adb to go into root. So I'm going to go Adb root, and that's going to, okay, so it's already running as root. If you're not already running as root, then it will tell you, it'll restart Adb, and it will run it as root. I think it says Adb unroot. Okay, there we go. Restarting as non-root. So Adb unroot will restart it. I'm going to do something else here. I'm going to turn on the setting that it will stop going to sleep, which is also in developer options, I believe. Okay, stay awake. There we go. Stay awake, Mr. Phone. Stay awake. Although most of what we're going to be doing is on the terminal. So we're going to go Adb root to reboot as root. And then the next thing we need to do is we need to remount the file system. This is what's going to enable you. We're going to always trust, and yes. This is what's going to enable you to create the, access the file system. So to do that, we want to do Adb Remount. You'll see it says remount succeeded. Okay, so now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pull your file. So let me verify what I have where real quick. Okay, so I got this. We're gonna go .b. I just rename a file there. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is I want to change my directory, and I'm gonna go to desktop and Android. Of course, I gotta write desktop. There you go. So inside of here, I have a host's backup file. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pull your host file from your phone. Now, an Android phone, it does not have the host file in the etc. It has it in system etc. So you're going to pull /system/etc/hosts. This is going to pull the file into my current directory. So do dir. You'll see that now I have hosts and the hosts back. And so let's look at nano hosts. Now I already have this set up. Oh, let's, yes. All right, so I already have this set up. Now the default on the Android, it's just going to have these first two lines, the 127.0.0.1 localhost and the ::1 for IP6 localhost. Everything down here, of course, another plug for this group here is the best place I've found, the hostfile.mine.nu. This thing just has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things. Now, I made some adjustments to it. I added facebook.com. I added mobilefacebook.com, Instagram, mobileinstagram.com. And then, of course, there's just every other ad system, porn site, all sorts of bad stuff. All over the stuff is all inside of this. And so, basically, that's all I did. So, we're going to say no. I'm not going to change any of that. So then now what we want to do is make any edits that you want on the host file, either through the GUI or through the terminal. Pasting that much in, by the way, do it through the GUI. It runs way fast if you run it through the GUI. Pasting it through the terminal takes about 5 minutes to paste that in. Save the file, and then once you have that up, then you want to do Adb Push, and then pick the file that you want. So we're going to do hosts, and then where you want it to go, /system/etc, and then that's and that's going to drop the host file back on this. Now, as long as you are in root, and as long as you have Adb accessing root on the developer options like we showed earlier, then that will enable you to have your that'll enable you to edit your host file. Now, another thing that you can do is you can go adb shell, and I thought it was adb shell, maybe not. Adb shell, huh? Yes, it is adb shell. It's just, you got to do adb, not abd. All right, so inside of here, now we can go through. Of course, dir is not your listing agent. You need to go ls for that. Here is your etc. And then you can see that, I'm so used to dir. So here you can see you have the host. Now, for whatever reason, and I'm not sure if it's relevant to just the system that I have going or whatever else, but if I go into nano host, it kind of gives me this screen. I'm not sure what exactly to do with this screen, except I know that if I exit, it exits. So, and I basically what I do is I just go to a website that's on my block list to verify that the block list works. And so that's kind of what's happening with that. So that's how you push a host file. Now every time I do that, then I want to come back into my settings, and I'm going to go back into my developer options, and then I'm actually going to undo the things that I did. So turning root access back to disabled, turning off Android debugging. Get rid of the screen that pops up in my face that you can't see. And now our phone is locked back up. We're not rooted, so we've not taken the unnecessary security issues, but we have an edited hosts file that works. So now let's go ahead and walk through the setup of the Orbot system, because that's something that I think a lot of people may not know about and might want to try. So we're just going to boot up the app, and you'll notice it's not on my screen because it's essentially set up to always work. I'll disable it manually if I want to. And I did encounter some issues with disabling it. I don't know if that has to do with the app, or actually re-enabling it. I don't know if that has to do with the app or how the phone's managing VPNs, or if I pushed the wrong button. So we're going to probably fumble through part of this, but I'm going to show you the basic app first. So you load up Orbot, and you'll see here that, well, you can't really see that, can you? Try and get something that you can possibly see it. Okay. All right, so here I get stop and browse. And basically, as soon as you load this guy up, it's going to connect itself to the Tor network and give you the Tor indicator up at the top. So you can pull that down, and you can see where the Tor network's looking at. Now, if you have a settings option over here, and inside of your settings, come down and find the select apps down here, and this will tell you what apps on the phone will route themselves through the Tor system. And so you'll see I've like the Ann Bible goes online and grabs things. I don't know, that might actually be a neat one I want to run through Tor. So I'm going to go ahead and do that one, run that one through Tor. And let's see. And actually, I mean, I haven't played with it a lot to see if it's really slow on the network. I don't know if it'll be slow on the network. Maybe I'll do some tests with and without it. Who knows? Okay, but you just want to go down there. And of course, here's browser. This is the default browser. It is not checked, so it does not go through the Tor system. But eventually we'll encounter Chromium. It is checked, and we'll also find Firefox, which is checked. You'll notice the emails are not, and I did not run the emails through those. Now, if I were running like a secure email, like I wanted to run like a Tor mail or something, if that still exists anymore, I don't know if it does. But if I wanted to run some type of secure email system, then what I might end up doing is, what I would do there is I would go ahead and install another mail app and set that one to use Tor, and then just disable the Tor and everything else. And then other apps, you'll see that, some of them like Forecast, it's not even really, doesn't have data connections, but any of the other apps that I would regularly use to just general on-the-fly browsing the internet, that's a neat product. Let me look something up so they can't track it back to me and attempt to keep sell. That's all set up so that all of the basic browsers go through Tor. The stock browser, if I do need a browser without Tor, I'll suffer with that one. And then that's kind of how that's set up. And then what I did is click up here and go into the notification. That's that. And there's one more setting. I got to find it. Okay, so the one I'm actually looking for is the one that enables the VPNing. I just got to remember where that is. Oh, that's it. Okay. Now I remember. All right, so from the hamburger menu up here, this option over here is the VPN. When you first turn it on, it's like, hey, this is an experimental thing, so whatever. But turn that on, and then that actually goes through, does the app checker, and then that enables you to have your VPN up top. And then what you'll notice is going into your settings, VPNs, you'll see that this is the VPN that's selected. Let me see if I can. No, that makes it worse. So you can see that the VPN up here, and then of course we can come over here and we can turn it on or turn it off. So if I just want to disconnect the VPN, I just come into the VPN and turn that off, and then what you'll see is the key will go away. So once the key goes away, you got to give it a minute or so, and then what we'll do is we'll boot up Firefox. Hey, now that the VPN is gone, I can actually access my Calibri server on my local network. So that's that. Now the problem that I have had with that is, okay, now I want to turn that back on. Getting that turned back on is a little crazy because what you'll see is that it still says it's there. So let me try the settings again. Okay, so maybe I just need to turn it back on in that setting up there, but we'll give that a minute, see if that actually connects itself. And actually yeah, well, Facebook's never going to connect. Thank you. Okay, so right now you'll see that it's not connected to Tor. So what I'm going to try is I'm going to try maybe just rebooting the Tor system. I'm just trying to find a better way of getting it turned back on. Like I said, it always gets back on eventually. It just doesn't always seem to come right back on right away. So we're looking for the key up here on the top. And maybe just toggling this might also do it. So we're still not connected to the Tor system. So this is, like I said, this is the challenge. If the app developer for this is watching, this is the challenge: is getting the thing connected back up to the system. No idea why, but it just okay. There it goes. Now it's back on. So all I did is I went. So it's back on now. So refresh, and it should connect me to Tor now. There you go. Now we're back to Tor, and I have my key back up top. So that's kind of that. So what I did is came up here, clicked on this, closed that, went back, and that's when I saw the key. So maybe it was in the process of connecting, and I just didn't give it enough time to boot up. Okay, browser choice. I'm kind of like, hey, Chromium, Firefox, whatever. I don't want to use Chrome for sure. But the reason I went with Firefox is Chromium, you cannot change the default search engines. Well, you can change it between the 5 crappy choices they give you. Well, maybe 4 crappy choices and 1 I don't like to use. So if you come down here, come down to settings. Here's all my search engine choices. I have Google, Yahoo, Bing, Ask, and AOL. That's it. Okay, it is 5 sucky choices. I thought DuckDuckGo was in here, but it's not. So these are my only choices. You cannot add search engines. I have to pick a default between one of these. Nope, neither option's good. So I won't use Chromium. But Firefox, you can add variety of search engines. By default, they give you a bunch more. I got rid of all the other ones. I kept DuckDuckGo, I kept Amazon.com, and I kept Startpage. And so with those, that is what I have. And of course, Startpage is my default. And it should be, when I boot up Firefox, it should go there first. But for whatever reason, I get my screen instead of that. It's like, no, I really want you to do Startpage first. And that's how I'm supposed to, in theory, have it set. But that's kind of that. All right. Let's see. What else is there on here that you might like to see? I don't know. That's about it. So now we have a de-googlified phone running Lineage OS. Routing all the browser traffic through Tor, running all free and open source apps. Some of them were even compiled in Office here. Most of them I just downloaded directly from their websites using F-Droid for a few other odds and ends. So with that, if there's other apps, so like if there's app suggestions you have for me, let me know. Again, I'm looking for a better app for maps and a better app for notes off the top. And there may be other ones I think of down the road. And if you know of a good place I can download either YouVersion or Bible Gateway that's a reputable place, let me know that as well. I'd be interested in having those. I do have the Bible one on there that allows me to connect to some of the servers, but all of the available servers, it's all old open source stuff, which I don't mind, but I want to have some of the more modern Bible translations available to me on my phone as well. Of course, I can always go directly to their websites. BibleGateway.com works just fine. So, whatever. But if you know how to do any of those, let me know. So, thanks for watching. And again, this was De-googlifying a Nexus 5X, running things through Tor, free and open source software, and a bunch of other keywords that I'll stuff down there. So, thanks for watching, and if you do like what we are doing, you can come and check us out at switchedtolinux.com/support. As of right now, I have a Patreon page set up, and you can also follow some Amazon links down below. So, thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.